Do you remember? There was a time when just stepping into Walmart felt like entering a world of convenience and low prices. Shopping carts overflowing with goods, receipts that made you smile because everything was so cheap. Life seemed easier than ever. But now, everything has taken a turn. Walmart, once the symbol of affordability and convenience, has suddenly raised prices to record levels. U.S. states are plunging into crisis as people no longer recognize what this place has become. Shopping baskets are getting emptier, faces look helpless, and an uncertain future is becoming more and more visible. Have you noticed it happening around you yet? If not, make sure you watch this video until the end. Because this isn't just the story of Walmart. It's a warning sign of a powerful wave about to crash down. Walmart, one of the most familiar names to American consumers, has just delivered a message that took many by surprise. Prices are expected to rise soon. The reason, according to the company, lies in the broad implementation of new tariffs. In a meeting with investors, CEO Doug McMillon explained that input costs have risen sharply, making it increasingly difficult to maintain stable prices. Mr. McMillon emphasized that Walmart is still trying to keep prices low for its customers, but the current cost pressures have exceeded the company's ability to absorb them. Especially in a retail sector where profit margins are already thin, deep price cuts to offset increases are simply unsustainable. Several economic analysts have pointed out that Walmart's price adjustment is not unexpected, as the new tariffs could impact around $3 trillion worth of imported goods. And that means not only Walmart, but many other retail chains will also be affected. According to analysis from Yahoo Finance, products such as cars, electronics, clothing, handbags, and food are all likely to see price increases. This is because current tariff rates range from 10 to 30%, depending on the type of product and country of origin. When importers can no longer maintain prices, they typically pass the added costs on to the end consumers. If the plan to revive domestic production does not come with effective support measures, then instead of creating new value, consumers may simply find themselves staring at longer receipts. And that reality is becoming increasingly visible on every price tag in Walmart stores today. And when Walmart, the symbol of low prices and stability, begins to waver, what is happening in places where entire local economies depend on this retail giant? Below are 10 states currently experiencing a rapid crisis, where the fallout from this price hike is crashing down like a tidal wave. 1. California, from shopping paradise to price crisis. Once upon a time, California was where every consumer dream began. The bustling streets of Los Angeles and San Francisco used to be lit up with neon signs, filled with music and crowds flowing in and out of major retail chains like Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and Macy's. Just a stroll down the block could lead you to anything: electronics, groceries, fashion, medicine, all at reasonable prices and with friendly service. That atmosphere once symbolized a prosperous and modern California. But now, everything has changed. According to the California Retailers Association, more than 1,500 major stores closed in 2024. Familiar names like Walgreens, CVS, Nordstrom, and even Walmart are on that list. For residents in suburban and rural areas, this is more than just an inconvenience. It is the gradual disappearance of a way of life they once knew. Some areas are becoming what experts call retail deserts, places where people no longer have access to major stores within a reasonable distance. For elderly individuals unfamiliar with online shopping and households without personal vehicles, buying a carton of milk or a cold medicine pill has now become a real challenge. A mother of 3 living in suburban Sacramento shared with local media that her family's weekly shopping bill has now reached over $330, mostly spent on essential groceries. When I was a kid, our house was always full of fruit, orange juice, and snacks for the neighborhood kids. Now, a single box of strawberries costs $25. I honestly don't know what else to cut back on. According to a report from UC Berkeley, consumer prices in California have risen by more than 9% on average over the past year, a rate significantly higher than the national average. At the same time, the wave of retail closures has left thousands of workers unemployed. Those who once relied on steady jobs at supermarkets and drugstores are now struggling to find a new direction in a labor market with fewer and fewer options. The main reason, according to several experts quoted by Forbes, lies in the rising cost of doing business in California, while retail chains are also under increasing price pressure from the new import tax policies. To maintain profit margins, many companies are being forced to withdraw from areas with low spending rates, causing major disruptions in the supply and distribution of goods. California, once considered the shopping paradise of America, is now gradually becoming a symbol of instability. And if this situation continues, many other communities may share the same fate. In that context, the question is not only how to survive with current prices, but also whether the American dream remains intact when even a box of strawberries makes us hesitate. If California is the grand stage that quietly closed its curtain, then New York is like a performance suddenly cut short by a power outage. The once bustling noise and shopping crowds have now turned into a strange silence. And that is exactly when we step into the next story. 2. New York quietly falls into crisis. If you step out onto the streets of New York these days, the first thing you'll notice is an unusual silence. Many once busy roads now appear strangely deserted, for lease signs constantly appear on glass doors that once belonged to major retail chains. According to recent statistics, nearly 1,000 stores have closed in this state within just a year. This is no longer an uncommon sight. And in many residential areas, people are gradually becoming used to life without their familiar supermarkets. Few can forget the time when New York was one of the most vibrant commercial centers in the country. The packed weekends at Target in Brooklyn or the festive excitement at Best Buy during the holidays are memories imprinted in the minds of millions of residents. In Manhattan, Macy's was once the irreplaceable symbol of the year-end shopping season, but now that atmosphere seems to live only in memory. According to experts, the wave of store closures does not stem from a single cause. The pressure of rental costs, labor wages, along with the impact of price increases due to import tariffs, are all part of a larger picture. Some sources analyze that major corporations adjusting logistics strategies and cutting down branches in low-income residential areas is a calculated trend aimed at maintaining profits amid soaring input costs. Mr. Henry, a man in his 60s, used to work as a warehouse staff member at Walmart for over 2 decades. After the branch where he worked was shut down, he fell into unemployment and had to rely on temporary assistance. Daily shopping also became more difficult. He shared that he used to reach the supermarket within a few minutes' walk, but now he has to take a bus ride of over 40 minutes just to find a place that sells basic groceries. According to him, the former Walmart store was not only his workplace but also served the entire neighborhood. Its closure happened quite suddenly, with no prior specific announcement. Many residents in the area found themselves in similar situations, especially the elderly or families without personal vehicles. This is one of the typical examples reflecting the lack of shopping options after Walmart scaled down its operations in New York. The consequences are not just about higher spending. The mass closures of stores have pushed the unemployment rate in New York's retail sector to over 7.5%. For those who once relied on jobs at checkout counters or in storage, losing their position means not just a loss of income, but the collapse of financial support for their families. Meanwhile, rental prices in commercial areas continue to rise, making the prospect of recovery increasingly distant. The question is, in a city that continues to report impressive financial growth, is it fair that people have to struggle just to buy a loaf of bread near their homes? And if the neighborhoods that once formed the foundation of the city's growth are gradually disappearing, can New York still be considered the city of opportunity as it once promised? New York may be slowly quieting down, but in Mississippi, things have almost come to a complete stop. Once vibrant towns are now left in silence as Walmart and many other large stores have steadily vanished. 3. Mississippi. When a community slowly loses hope. Mrs. Ruthie, 72 years old, lives in a small town in southern Mississippi. She used to call her trip to Walmart the weekly celebration. She not only bought groceries, medicine, and a few items for her grandchildren, but also met up with friends, exchanged a few words, and felt that she was still connected to life. Now, that familiar store has shut down, and to buy a carton of milk or a roll of toilet paper, she has to wait for her grandson to drive her over 40 minutes to the nearest large town. Mrs. Ruthie's situation is not unique. According to some statistics cited by local media, more than 700 retail stores in Mississippi have ceased operations in less than 2 years. Many chains once familiar to residents, such as CVS, Walgreens, and Dollar Tree, are gradually disappearing from the map, leaving worrying voids behind. Around 40% of rural counties in Mississippi now no longer have any full-scale supermarkets, creating what are referred to as food deserts. This situation has arisen after a series of changes in operating costs, pressure from import prices, and a sharp decline in consumer demand. According to some economic analyses compiled by NBC News, Mississippi's corporate tax rates and infrastructure costs are not particularly attractive to investors. In addition, the trend of young people leaving their hometowns to seek opportunities elsewhere has noticeably weakened local purchasing power. The withdrawal of major retailers from the market not only disadvantages consumers, but also brings a chain of consequences for employment and income. Many people who once worked at Walmart, Walgreens, or smaller supermarkets now have nowhere to return to. Meanwhile, prices of essential goods such as milk, rice, and medicine have increased on average by 10 to 20%, according to a research group report from the University of Mississippi. Some families have shared that they must choose between buying food or paying for medicine for elderly relatives. Mississippi's story raises a bigger question. When profit is the determining factor for all business strategies, who will step up to ensure the minimum needs of communities being left behind? From the quiet rural areas of Mississippi, we move on to Texas, which seems to be developing strongly. But behind the bustling pace of life, a silent wave of Walmart closures is pushing many communities into difficult situations. 4. When Texas is no longer a shopping paradise. The atmosphere in a small corner of the El Paso suburbs has become quieter than ever. Previously, Mr. James, a retired bus driver, used to walk to the nearby store every morning to buy medicine and a few essential items. But now, the familiar CVS store has closed. He has to rely on his children or grandchildren to drive him, or choose to stay at home and make do with whatever is left in the fridge. Texas, known for its low taxes and affordable living costs, was once a dream destination for many seeking a stable life. Shopping centers in Houston, Dallas, and Austin were once bustling with people coming and going. But currently, according to several reports from the Texas Retail Association, more than 300 major stores have ceased operations in 2024 alone. Among them are familiar names like Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and Dollar Tree. This wave of downsizing mainly occurs in low-income towns and city outskirts where residents have few alternative options. Expanding residential areas are also not spared from the impact. While prices of goods continue to rise due to increasing import and operating costs, consumers have to drive tens of miles just to buy a few basic items. According to information from some economic news agencies, many retailers say they are forced to close to avoid deep losses caused by sharply rising logistics and labor costs. The resulting consequences cannot be underestimated. Thousands of local workers lost their jobs suddenly, without time to prepare or switch careers. Families living on teachers', workers', or drivers' salaries had to carefully calculate every penny as shopping costs surged sharply. People found themselves in a difficult position. Either pay higher prices at the remaining stores or accept the not-so-cheap shipping fees from online orders. In some places, like the Houston suburbs, the closure of a supermarket also led to a drop in real estate prices, a decline in neighborhood security, and small businesses nearby gradually scaling back operations. Many communities lost places to meet, share, and maintain their daily rhythms. This reality raises a big question. Why, in a dynamic state like Texas, are so many people unable to easily buy a box of cold medicine or a bag of rice at a fair price? And if this trend continues, how much longer can neighborhoods that were once full of life survive? Leaving Texas with its streets gradually losing the presence of supermarkets, we move on to Illinois, once seen as a symbol of abundance in the Midwest. But now, even the busy neighborhoods here are gradually losing the familiar support called Walmart. 5. When Walmart disappears from Illinois, the decline of a once prosperous state. At one time, living in Illinois, especially around the Chicago suburbs, meant you never had to worry about where or what to buy. From Walmart and Target to Walgreens or CVS, everything was available within a few blocks. Large supermarkets, pharmacies, bakeries, and convenience stores lined up to create a vibrant shopping ecosystem that fully served the lives of the middle class. It was a feeling of security, convenience, and the foundation for the stability of millions of working families in the state. However, that picture is now gradually disappearing. According to some industry statistics, since 2022, hundreds of Walmart stores in Illinois have scaled back operations or closed completely. Even in densely populated neighborhoods, finding an open Walmart store is becoming more difficult than before. Many people describe this change as a silent void, when a familiar support is withdrawn without any warning. Mr. Malik, a retired worker living in the Bronx, said that after the Walmart near his home closed, his family's monthly living expenses increased by nearly $150, despite no change in their needs. Before, I could buy enough groceries for the whole week in just one trip. Now I have to split my shopping into small trips at various places, paying higher prices and spending more time, he said. He added that since there are no longer any large stores offering stable prices nearby, he has had to cut back on other expenses, including supplements and breakfast. The feeling of losing control over spending makes me more stressed than when I was still working, he shared. The cause of this change, according to some market experts' analyses, stems from Walmart's nationwide restructuring, partly influenced by rising operating costs and adjustments in tariff policies. Stores in low-margin areas have become targets for cuts. Illinois, where rent prices are high and tax incentives are no longer as generous as neighboring states, has been left behind. The consequences are clear. When Walmart leaves, it is not just a shopping place that disappears. Thousands of retail employees lose their jobs. Small businesses around lose customers. Consumers have to choose between paying higher prices at small stores or traveling dozens of miles to shop. For communities that once thrived around Walmart's presence, the feeling of being abandoned is growing stronger every day. And the question arises, is this merely a transitional phase or a sign that an era has come to an end? Illinois has not yet recovered from empty shelves, when in the east, Pennsylvania is quietly facing the same fate. From steel towns to coal regions, a chain of Walmarts that was once a source of pride has now become an emptiness hard to fill. 6. Pennsylvania in trouble. No need to go far. In neighborhoods that were once bustling in Pennsylvania, many residents now have to drive more than 30 minutes just to find a Walmart that is still open. This is the reality in Pittsburgh, Scranton, and Allentown, places where people used to be able to buy everything just a few steps from home. Pennsylvania was once a symbol of industrial America. When steel mills were still thriving, Walmart was a familiar stop after work shifts. Workers took their wives and children shopping on weekends, stopping by Walmart to buy a few necessary items, then enjoying dinner together at a nearby diner. Everything was simple, familiar, and affordable. But that scene is fading. According to some data cited by financial media, more than 700 retail stores in the state have closed within the past 2 years. Among them, Walmart accounts for a significant proportion. In many small towns where this supermarket once served as the community's hub, only empty storefronts and dusty "for lease" signs remain. Mr. Ronald, who worked as a seasonal employee at a Walmart branch in the suburbs of Scranton, said he had worked there for nearly 8 years before the store suddenly closed at the end of last year. "I was familiar with the job, the customers, the rhythm of life there," he shared. "Since losing my job, I have not only lost income, but also feel like I have been cut off from the community." He added that many former colleagues are also struggling to find new jobs, especially older workers who no longer fit the demanding work environment today. The cause, according to many analysts, is not only due to rising rental costs, but also because purchasing power in working-class neighborhoods is no longer considered attractive to large-scale retailers. Meanwhile, tax incentives from neighboring states like Ohio and New Jersey are creating strong pulls, causing Walmart to gradually reallocate its resources. The consequence is not just losing a familiar shopping location. Many consumers are forced into the situation of accepting higher prices from smaller stores. Low-income families have to sacrifice product quality or reduce consumption to save money. When grocery shopping becomes an entire journey, what will keep the bonds that once created the vitality of those once industrial communities? If Pennsylvania is a slow, sad melody, then in Michigan, that tune becomes heavier. Once the industrial heart of America, it is now silent amid supermarket aisles no longer visited by anyone. 7. Michigan falls into deadlock. Once regarded as the ideal model of the American middle-class dream, Michigan was at one time a place where every family felt secure. In previous years in Detroit, Flint, or Grand Rapids, you only needed to walk a few minutes to reach a nearby Walmart that stocked all essential items at reasonable prices. For working-class people, it was not just a shopping spot but a familiar part of their daily lives. However, that scene is changing faster than ever. Some local sources report that Walmart has closed many branches in low-income neighborhoods, including several densely populated areas in Flint and Detroit. This quiet withdrawal is leaving a significant void not only in physical terms but also in the community's spirit. Miss Laura, a single mother living in the suburbs of Grand Rapids, said she no longer dares to buy small quantities like before. "Prices are rising too quickly. I have to carefully calculate every box of milk, every pack of diapers," she shared with the local press. Instead of stopping by the store every few days as she used to, she now has to buy in bulk, saving money to make one trip for the whole month. "Just forgetting something once is enough to throw me off for a whole week," she added. With a 2-shift work schedule every day, flexibility in daily life almost no longer exists. Meanwhile, elderly people in the area cannot even travel by themselves to buy necessities and have to rely on relatives or charitable organizations. The reason behind this withdrawal, according to some economic analysts, stems from the fact that the aforementioned areas no longer guarantee the expected profit margins for businesses. Along with that are rising operating costs and competitive pressure from online sales channels. The consequences go beyond just people having to pay higher prices. When Walmart disappears, small eateries and convenience stores nearby also lose customers. The atmosphere becomes quiet, prices rise, and choices narrow. And the question arises: if a family in Michigan has to drive 45 minutes just to buy a bottle of milk, can that still be considered the image of a sustainable community? Leaving Michigan with its neighborhoods gradually losing shoppers, we turn south, where the warm sun of Georgia was once associated with simplicity and stability. But even there, Walmart is slowly pulling back, leaving behind many unanswered questions. 8. When Walmart withdraws, Georgia becomes a shopping desert. Currently, many areas in Georgia are gradually becoming empty as familiar stores disappear one by one. Among them, the absence of Walmart is seen as the clearest sign of this change. According to statistics from some sources in the retail industry, just in the past 2 years, hundreds of Walmart stores have closed in low-income or sparsely populated regions across the state. The cause of this situation is believed to originate from a profit optimization strategy, in which areas that fail to meet expected revenue are gradually losing Walmart's presence. Some experts say that high operating costs, combined with challenges from local infrastructure and the shift toward online sales models, have caused many locations to no longer hold their central roles as before. This is completely contrary to the image of Georgia from previous years. In places like Augusta and smaller towns, stopping by Walmart to buy a few household items used to be a familiar habit. It was not just shopping, it was also where people met, exchanged news, and kept the daily rhythm alive. Marcus, who lives in the suburbs of Monroe, said that since Walmart closed, shopping for his family has become much more complicated. Before, I took my mother to the supermarket once a week, conveniently buying medicine and some small items at the same time. Now, I have to plan like going on a trip. Timing, filling gas, checking if my mother is well, he told the local station. He also mentioned that many elderly neighbors around him have switched to ordering online, but for those who are not tech-savvy, that is almost impossible. The consequences go beyond the lack of essential goods. According to the San Antonio Food Bank, nearly 300,000 residents are now facing food insecurity, the highest figure in over a decade. The wealth gap has never been more visible, leaving working-class Americans unable to secure even a basic, healthy meal. No one expected a fast-growing city like San Antonio to fall short in feeding its people. And when even the middle class begins to worry about dinner, this isn't just a citywide issue. We've walked you through a crisis that's quietly reshaping life for millions across the country. Don't stay silent. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want 9. Walmart quietly disappears from Nevada. When people no longer have a place to shop. I used to finish my night shift and stop by Walmart to buy some essentials. Now, there's nowhere open anymore, shared a casino worker in North Las Vegas. His story is not unique. Over the past 2 years, numerous Walmart stores in Nevada have closed silently. According to some local reports, in the Las Vegas Valley alone, it is estimated that more than 410 large retail locations have ceased operations, with Walmart being one of the most frequently mentioned names. There was a time when finding a Walmart just a few blocks away was taken for granted by residents in Henderson, Reno, or Las Vegas. These supermarkets not only provided daily necessities but also helped maintain convenience, created jobs, and gave a sense of stability to the community. However, the reality now is different. Many elderly people have no choice but to rely on buses or mobile food distribution points. Prices at the remaining stores have also risen rapidly, making shopping harder than ever. Without Walmart, suburban residents have to trade time, effort, and money to find goods that were once easily accessible. Some sources say the closures of Walmart stores are largely due to cost pressures, shifts in consumer demand, and supply chain restructuring strategies. However, what is clear is that their withdrawal leaves an irreplaceable void. Nevada is not a poor state, but the question remains. When Walmart, a symbol of convenience and low prices, gradually leaves neighborhoods that were once vibrant, what will keep the community from falling into silence? In Nevada, the lights are still on, but the shelves are thinning. Meanwhile, in Ohio, things are not just fading. They are shutting off completely like a flipped light switch. Walmart's absence here is quiet, but enough to force many families to change their entire daily way of life. 10. Ohio is losing Walmart and also faith in a stable life. I used to walk to Walmart every morning, buy some fresh food, then start my day, shared a man in his 70s living in Youngstown. Now that store is gone. I live alone and don't have a car. Everything has become very difficult. His story reflects a spreading reality in Ohio. Once seen as a model of steady development in the northeastern United States, Ohio was home to factories, middle-class neighborhoods, and familiar stores like Walmart. Not overly glamorous but always sufficient, it was a place where many families trusted they could live peacefully. However, according to some retail industry sources, Walmart has begun downsizing in areas with low population density or middle incomes. With the departure of these stores, numerous small communities lose their main shopping points. The alternatives are often small stores with high prices and limited stock. In Akron, Melissa, a part-time employee at a home goods store, said she often has to wait until the weekend to dare to buy groceries for the whole family. "I don't dare go into Walmart during the week anymore. Prices change every day, but my salary stays the same," she told a local TV channel. "Many times I have to cut vegetables and fruits from the list, leaving only a few cheaper items that don't provide enough nutrition for my 3 kids. When people no longer have a familiar anchor, the question arises: who will fill those gaps, and will the stable way of life still exist in places once considered the heart of America?" Thank you for watching until the end of the video. We have just walked through an overview of the 10 states most heavily affected by Walmart's sudden price hikes, a seemingly small shock that is creating a domino effect across the United States. When an icon of low prices and convenience begins to change, it is not just numbers on a receipt. It means job losses, loss of community connections, and sometimes even losing the sense of being cared for in the very place you call home. Which state do you live in? Do you feel the change in the atmosphere around you? Please share your story in the comments below, because what you are experiencing may very well be what others are quietly enduring. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future content. There are many things silently shifting around us, and you deserve to know. The content in this video is compiled and analyzed from multiple news sources, public statistics, and expert opinions. All information is for reference only and does not represent official statements from any organization or individual. This video is not intended to attack, cause panic, or create bias against any specific state, business, or policy. Our goal is to provide a multidimensional perspective so viewers can form their own objective and well-founded judgments.